call to order the meeting of the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District Board of Managers, March 27, 2025. We're inaugurating a new AV system, so we had just a little tweaking to do, and that's why we're starting just a few minutes late. Because Manager Loftus is attending remotely, we'll be doing all actions by roll call this evening. So let me do attendance. Manager Hejmati?
Here.
Manager Maxwell?
Here.
Manager Olson?
Present.
Manager Sando?
Here.
Manager Miller?
Here.
Manager Loftus?
Here.
Thank you. Everyone is present. We have guests this evening, and welcome. Is there anyone here who wanted to speak to a matter not on the agenda? Okay. Before I ask for a motion to approve the agenda, I just want to note that I will do, the order would be to take up 12, 13, and 14 before 11.2. But with that change, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move approval. Second.
I'll take a motion for Manager Miller, second for Manager Maxwell. Voting on approval of the agenda, Manager Loftus?
Aye.
Manager Miller?
Aye.
Manager Sando?
Aye.
Manager Olson?
Aye.
Manager Maxwell?
Aye.
Manager Hejmati?
Aye.
Thank you. The agenda is approved. On the consent agenda, we have approval of the minutes of the March 13th board meeting and approval of the check registers, the general checking account, surety checking account, and wire transfers, and one resolution, 25020, was authorization to apply for a Bowser Water Quality and Storage Grant to support our climate action framework scenarios. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Manager Hejmati, is there a second?
Second.
Manager Miller. Voting on the consent agenda, Manager Hejmati,
Aye.
Maxwell,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Sando,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Loftus.
Aye.
Thank you.
And White says.
And White says aye. I have one update from my report, and that is attending the Minnesota Watershed Special Meeting last week. Manager Olson and I were delegates, and the delegates there approved the proposed bylaws amendment that we'd all seen with some small changes, but non-substantive. And as you recall, that results in combining the resolutions and legislative committees, having an earlier in the year resolutions process, adding a business meeting around the 1st of August to adopt resolutions, and then a full membership voting on the legislative platform in December. Following that, we had a presentation, a workshop from Mr. Smith, where he talked about the open meeting law and data practices and the most recent developments. It was a really, really good presentation, and the audience was the members were very engaged. It really was wonderful to have it fleshed out, I guess, by the questions people asked and the advisory opinions and appellate decisions and their fact situations. So that was terrific. Then I will move on to Manager Miller for the committee report.
We had a workshop split up of the staff and board into 5 different groups talking about relationship management, and it's an ongoing discussion. And we didn't come to any conclusions, but we committed to keep working on it.
Thank you, Manager Miller. Manager Olson, the CAC.
We had a great CAC meeting. We held it over at the Minnetonka City Hall because of the space here not being available. And there was a presentation, Kate Moran did a presentation on diversity, equity, and inclusion that was detailing the 3 major areas that we want to focus on, which is internally, externally is related to projects. And then finally, there was a question that was brought up by one of the CAC members about the watershed appointing board members who were diverse with equity and inclusion. And we had to remind them that we don't do any appointing here. All of us on this dais are appointed by county commissioners from Carver County and Hennepin County. So it would be in their prerogative to appoint the membership up here. The other thing is that after an hour and a half of very robust participation, Becky Christopher got up and talked about our flood management, focal geographies, land and water partnerships, and literally the watershed management plan. And then also included evaluation frameworks, because the CAC has asked for ranking, evaluation, grading, that kind of a thing where they, how do you know you're succeeding? And we explained that that whole plan is setting the direction for our next 10-year plan. It's aligning the cities and MCWD's priorities, and it is a type of communication between the interested parties about our purpose and our priorities. And finally, the transparency and accountability for everything that we're doing is a priority. So with that, we adjourned about a half hour after we said we would, and but it was very well attended and very busy. So our crew did a great job.
Wonderful, thank you. The upcoming meeting and events show our ordinary committee and board meeting schedule, and also on April 15th, the Minnesota Metro Watershed's quarterly meeting. Manager Miller will not be able to attend in hopes that someone else will volunteer to attend in his place.
I'll be there.
Manager Olson, okay. Of course, we can all attend. Then let's go to item 11.1, which is Resolution 25021. Mr. McDermott speaks.
Hello, President White, Board of Managers. I'm here tonight to seek authorization to enter into contracts for vegetation management. For the board tonight, I will cover a brief background, review, discuss how quotes were reviewed, some schedule changes that arose, and provide some recommendations. For background, vegetation management oversight has been brought into the district to drive ecological and aesthetic outcomes on district projects. Vegetation management program over the years has grown to 29 sites across 4 different regions, culminating in Minneapolis Ponds and Arden Park sites, Minnehaha Greenway and Headwater sites, and then the northern and the southern upper watershed sites. On February 13th, the board authorized staff to seek quotes to continue vegetation management through 2026. As part of the quote review, quotes went out directly to 8 different firms, and then were also additionally posted to the district website and the League of Minnesota Cities website. We received back 4 quotes from 4 different firms. Those firms are Native Resource Preservation, Minnesota Native Landscapes, Natural Shore Technologies, and Landbridge Ecological. Submittals were reviewed by staff to gauge the firm's ability to provide the requested services at a level that the district requires. Through this, 2 of the firms, NRP and NST, did submit references. Both firms had references that would meet the standards that we would be looking for, though NST's references were of a more similar scope to what the services that we are requesting. The district does have, in addition, has previous experience with 3 of the contractors on vegetation management, with both M&L and NST providing high-quality work and communications in their previous work with the district. Overall, most of the firms had a similar ability to be able to perform the work at a level to meet the district's needs, and thus this led staff to conclude that price is the most significant criterion comparing these quotes. Of the 4 contractors that submitted quotes, 2 provided quotes for all 4 requests, M&L and NRP. NST provided quotes for the Minneapolis Ponds and the Greenway, and Landbridge provided a quote for only Minneapolis Ponds. Low quotes across the 4 regions were submitted by 2 contractors, Natural Shore Technologies and Minnesota Native Landscapes. Natural Shore submitted the low quote for the Minneapolis Ponds and the Greenway, and Minnesota Native Landscapes submitted the low quote for both the upper watershed contracts. Quote pricing was broken out in the table that you see there. A little small, but there's a lot of information there. We broke it out into both 25 and 26 based on the scheduled services, and be able to compare year-over-year cost. And through this, it was highlighted that the 2025 costs were $35,000 over budget. So to align with the 2025 budget, staff reviewed the service schedule to identify where services could be moved into 2026, and then be included as part of the 2020 budgeting process. In selecting services to delay, we wanted to ensure that objectives would still be met. So services that are recommended to be delayed are services that are single treatments, treatments at high quality sites, or treatments that are at sites that are receiving lots of other frequent treatments. Going into 2026, those delayed services that are determined to not necessarily be necessary due to the management and changing of the site would have those funds then be allocated to other treatments on that site, go towards enhancements of the site, or be canceled altogether, depending on what is in our best interest. Pricing was then compared again in this table to just double check to make sure that the service changes didn't show that a different contractor all of a sudden was more competitive in the coming year. But we didn't find that. Local firms were contacted to ensure that these service schedules would not change their pricing, and they both confirmed that it would not change pricing. From there, with this, we recommend that Natural Shore Technologies be awarded the Minneapolis Ponds and Arden Park site and Minnehaha Greenway and Headwaters with not to exceed values of $80,000 and $99,100 respectively, and that Minnesota Native Landscapes be awarded the northern and southern upper watershed sites with not to exceed values of $138,700 and $140,100 respectively. So I request that the board approve the resolution 25-021 to authorize entering into the contracts for vegetation maintenance. And I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move approval.
Manager Miller?
Second.
Second, Manager Olson. Are there questions for Mr. McDermott-Spees?
How long does this process take? Is this a whole year they're doing this?
The management?
Yeah.
Yeah, the management's over the growing season. So it's going to start, hopefully we start having contractor meetings in the next coming weeks. And then really vegetation management is going to kick off kind of late May, early June. And then that'll go through. There will be some winter work probably as part of these schedule changes. We'll probably have some work in December and January. After that, it's a 3-year round. And then the contracts would terminate December 31st, 2026.
2026,
Yes.
December 31st. Okay.
Manager Olson?
Does having two contractors cause you more incremental workload as a result of splitting up?
It would actually be a reduction in workload. Previously, there were 4 contractors doing this work. So this is actually dialing it down to 2 people, two different firms to talk to instead of 4, which is a knock-on benefit, but not really, wasn't really part of the goal. Kind of worked out that way.
Right.
Anything else? You ready to vote? All right then, voting on adoption of Resolution 25021. Manager Hijmati?
Aye.
Manager Maxwell?
Aye.
White votes aye. Manager Olson?
Aye.
Manager Sando?
Aye.
Manager Miller?
Aye.
Manager Loftus?
Aye.
Thank you. The resolution is adopted. We'll now move down to number 13. Are there any board inquiries, issues, or ideas managers wish to bring forward this evening? Seeing none, we'll move to the administrator's report. Mr. Whisker.
Thank you, President White, managers. 3 or 4 items this evening. The Watershed District did receive a request for a letter of support from friends in the city of Excelsior. They're making a LCCMR proposal to advance shoreline restoration around the Commons Park. That's an area that we've invested in before for shoreline restoration as part of a suite of demonstration projects. It might be that part of their grant request includes trail and boardwalk components that are a mix of on. Want to parse that out, but I've worked with Becky Christopher to rough out a draft, and unless there's objections, that's something providing some support for. I think Manager Olson mentioned the Auburn Wetland Restoration Community Meeting. I think the next capital project that's up for community meeting, just as a reminder for everybody, is the County Road 6 Community Meeting. That's going to be at Orono City Hall, and I believe that starts at 6 or 6:30 p.m. on April 3rd. Let us know if you're going to be attending that. I think we did send out a schedule poll. We'll do that again just to make sure we know who's attending. And then I have a note here from Kaylee that the Watershed District, along with the Carver Water Management Organization, attended the Pearson Lake Association annual meeting just last Thursday evening. Our team presented on our work in Victoria, the Western Growth Area, the work to delist Wasserman Lake, our interests in and around Pearson Lake in terms of wetland restoration, potential land acquisition, and the emerging wetland bank that we're developing for turbid. So that was seemed like a good showing, a lot of positive feedback from members. I heard that Jill was sung happy birthday by the Lake Association as a reward for a job well done. Inside Minneapolis, our partnership's making good progress. Just to keep the information flowing here, we're going to be sending out staff level feasibility information, a small executive summary report to our peers over at the Park Board and the City of Minneapolis this week. Following that, you should all see a newsletter coming probably within the next month. More immediately, we'll be polling schedules for our steering committee members, which right now are President White, Manager Hedgemati, Manager Miller, and that'll of course go out to the mayor's office, the council steering committee members, Park Board members. We're looking for a meeting towards the end of April, early May, and on the back side of that, we'd expect our Cedar Avenue project to move into negotiations for design and construction, and then we'll start working on Cedar Lake management plan. And then finally, the Minnesota Climate Adaptation Partnership just last week notified us that we, along with Hennepin County Emergency Management, were awarded the 2025 Climate Adaptation Award for our partnership with the county and the emergency management team out there, largely credited to Brian for building out our big data approach to forecasting, monitoring rainfall through Hennepin County Mesonet, and then building out our own real-time sensor network, ResNet, which gauges water levels in real time and uses that real-time information to make smart decisions regarding Grays Bay Dam operations that reduce flooding both upstream and downstream of the dam. So there's going to be a small awards ceremony that looks like it's May 8th, 2025, Bell Museum of Natural History in St. Paul at 6 to 8:30 p.m. So we'll send out a note for you on that, and if somebody wants to attend, let me know.
I got a question. How is the Morningside Pond in Edina pumping system tied into our prediction model?
That's a good question, Manager Miller. It's not tied in directly, although they are using similar National Weather Service forecast and similar increments to make kind of algorithmic predictive decisions around how they draw down both ground and surface water ahead of rainfall events. But we aren't patched directly into those pumping decisions. We have been meeting with Edina and Minneapolis post-project to review how it's going, and they're making tweaks to their SCADA and their algorithms, but we're not getting real-time data on that.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I have, unless
Great.
there's
Thank you,
questions.
Mr. Whisker.
You're welcome.
We'll now move to item 11.2, Resolution 25019, authorization to issue a notice of termination of the 325 Blake Road real estate purchase agreement. The action we have tonight follows the direction that the board provided to staff on March 13th to prepare this notice for our consideration. We asked for the notice of termination to be prepared given the amount of time that the developer has been out of compliance with the terms of the purchase and sale agreement, with critical milestones being missed in June of 2024, the end date of the last extension being November 2024, and we're now entering into April 2025, knowing that after almost 4 years, MCWD must take steps to implement its fully funded and designed work on the property that it owns. Board asked staff to contact our partners at the city and engage a lattice, and you are here this evening. So I want to thank you for taking the time to attend tonight's meeting and for the partnership, collaboration, and hard work that we've had up to this point. We have had many discussions over the last year to think creatively about how things might best move forward. And I think speak on behalf of the board when I say that we value their support in driving MCWD's work forward to deliver the Minnehaha Creek Greenway. At this point, I would like to invite members from the City of Hopkins and Alatus to come forward if they would like to address the board so that we can consider their input in this deliberation. I will note that because of the resolution we will be considering involves a negotiation of a real estate transaction, the discussions of which are protected, the board will consider the comments we hear this evening and the proposal Alatus delivered on Wednesday, March 26th in closed session this evening. And for that reason, I'll ask the board that we refrain from discussion and any negotiation in open session, and that we carry feedback from our guests into the closed session where we can discuss it thoughtfully with staff and legal counsel. So now whoever would like to come forward, please come up to the desk, state your name, position, and address, and then provide your comments to the board. Good evening.
Evening. I am Councilmember Brian Hunke from the City of Hopkins, and my address is 318 8th Avenue North. Good evening to all the members of Minnehaha Creek Watershed District Board of Managers. It's been a privilege to address you this evening. I'd like to take a moment to reflect on the strong partnerships we've built between Minnehaha Creek Watershed District and the City of Hopkins over the course of the 325 Blake project. From the very start, I've had the honor of being part of this liaison group, and I've seen firsthand the incredible progress we've made together. Our collective efforts have already brought significant transformation, such as the revitalization of Cottageville Park and the successful chorus development. These accomplishments are a testament to what we can achieve when we collaborate with our shared vision. Today, we are on the verge of something truly remarkable, a development that stands as a model for sustainability, water management, and diverse housing options. This is definitely a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that not only aligns with the values of our community, but also represents a bright future for both the Minnehaha Creek and the City of Hopkins. I come before you tonight because I recently learned about the potential termination of the purchase agreement with Alatus. I recognize that the journey's been challenging, and I fully understand the frustrations that come with navigating such a complex long-term project. The road to success is rarely a straight line, particularly when dealing with large developments and shifting market forces. We are currently in an extreme tough environment for securing financing. Capital necessary to move forward is harder to access than ever, and many developers are facing unprecedented hurdles. However, it is important to note that all of these parties, both public and private, have invested considerable time, resources, and energy to bring this project to the critical point it is. There is much at stake, and the opportunity for the final piece of the puzzle to move forward is within reach. With that in mind, I urge you to grant the recent amendment proposed by Alatus. This amendment would ensure site control for Alatus, allowing them to complete the construction plans for the necessary infrastructure. And this step would not only keep the project on track, but also enable the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District to continue advancing your important part of this. I cannot overstate how excited I am about the potential of this project and the lasting legacy it will create for our community and the watershed. We are so close to realizing this shared vision, and I look forward to celebrating this achievement alongside all of you when it's complete. Thank you for your time, your dedication, and your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Hunke.
Good evening. I'm Jason Gadd, former mayor of Hopkins and reside at 209 Wayside Road West in Hopkins. So it's a privilege to be able to come before you, President White and Watershed District Manager. It's been a while since I've been able to interact with you. It's always good to reconnect. And that's really what I wanted to kind of get to the point tonight, is that reconnection. The Watershed District and the City of Hopkins, we've always had such a strong partnership, strong relationship, and we've seen so many things come to fruition. Some of them have been very difficult. I remember times when Cottageville Park had a lot of hurdles to overcome, but we made that happen. Provided a great water filtration source for Minnehaha Creek. And then with this opportunity with the location at 325, it was definitely a challenging time. We appreciated, and I personally appreciated the effort and the financial aspect Minnehaha Creek Watershed District put into that, on purchasing that and clearing it out to create a new opportunity, as Councilmember Lucky mentioned, about a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And so the last couple of years have been challenging. And it's something that any person in the market and development has had to deal with. Even though I'm not on the council currently, I still keep track of what's going on with the development world, and there's slowdowns everywhere. You really have to be creative and flexible in that aspect. I've seen a lot of that flexibility with the city. They've made some amendments to be able to help move the project forward. And what I'm asking you tonight is just urging you to think about the impact that we've already had, if stopping this now with the current developer, and what impact would that have long term versus giving a few more months, another extension on what Lattice is looking for. And the way I see it, we've brought it to this point together, let's finish it together. And out of the flexibility and creativity of bringing this together, that's one of the reasons why I really was excited when we selected Lattice and Bob Lux initially, is what he and his team brought to the table, being able to bring so many different pieces together. And we're able to see the flip of Phase 2 original coming out first, Forest Apartment, that unique. So I have full faith in what he and his company can do to maintain this. Take that into consideration. Either extending purchase agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gadd.
Good evening. Rick Browson, 345 13th Avenue North in Hopkins, longtime resident, former city council member, and was one of the liaisons to the discussion to get this far from 2019 to 2021. Nice to see you all again. It's a little different to sit on this side of the activity than it is. So this feels new to me, but I'm here because 325 Blake Road project was an excellent conversation of collaboration between the Watershed District and the City of Hopkins. When we started those conversations, because we hit a wall. We hit a pretty big bump in the road, and we had to start over and claw out how this was going to work going forward. And the conversation wasn't always easy. It wasn't always fun, but we got it done. In one of those first meetings, I made a promise to the Watershed Board that if you had a problem, then I had a problem. And when we finished those discussions, Arun, I appreciated that you remembered that we had that conversation. Well, right now we've invited in a third party who's already put a very outstanding building on the site, but I think I hope we can find that patience again, and I hope we can find that level of conversation and that confidence that Mr. Lux has developed quality projects all over the Twin Cities in Minnesota, and we're familiar with that. And right now, I think that the project that he brought forward brings a level of excitement that, quite honestly, I didn't feel from some of the others that we looked at. Not to say that those weren't good, but this one just brought a different level of excitement. It had a little something for everybody. And it celebrated the water, something that a lot of people didn't know that we even have in Hopkins. And so I would ask that, and I would hope that we can give this some more time, because I think that the quality of the development that's before us is worth the wait, is worth the extra effort, is worth the patience, it's worth the understanding. I don't need to go into the circumstances, we all know that. But I think that this is something that will be special when it's done. And if there's any spark left in that, if you have a problem, I have a problem conversation, I hope we can find it here and extend it to somebody that's proven, they can do quality development. And they've done it in many other places. I just think that this is a kind of a youthful proposal that will last for generations to come and bring something different and unique to the city of Hopkins. I have a fear that if this goes away, that it will be more difficult to get to that level of excitement the next time. I have a lot of confidence in the developer we chose, and I get the frustrations and everything, but I really think this is worth working through it. I know that it's in you because I've sat there with you while we did it before, and I would ask that we can find that again, and I appreciate the opportunity. This is a really big deal to this group of people sitting here. I would hate to have the conversation with the residents of Hopkins again. I just don't think that one's going to go as easily. So getting this one, that's a tremendous value to me. Thank you for the time. And I know these are difficult conversations. So nice to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Browson. Good evening.
President White, managers, Bob Lux. I'm humbled to be here and to listen to folks from Hopkins describe our work and what we've accomplished so far. Obviously, what we're asking for is not an easy request. Going through the period of time that we're going through right now has not been easy on any of the developers. That's obvious. What we're asking for and what's outlined in the amendment, pretty simple, until the end of September. And we're willing to release and unconditionally release just under $1 million to you. So as soon as the amendment is signed, release that from the title company and pocket. We will also advance the plans for all of the infrastructure that's required to complete your job, which was part of the PFA grant that was awarded to both parties between the watershed and Alatus. And so we would advance those so that we'll have drawings, hopefully be in a position to be able to start that work. I know that the City of Hopkins has recently gone out for bid on road work. And the bids came in significantly, multiple millions of dollars less than anticipated. And we're at a time right now that we should be trying to build stuff. If I was sitting here tonight anticipating that our source of capital for this project, which is $168 million, was a traditional source of capital, which would be private equity, I would not be making this request, quite honestly. I would have rolled up my ball and gone home. The way that we're doing it, we don't have to go into the details, but I'm sure you're aware of it, is we're trying to do this project with a very large national, publicly rated nonprofit group who we're in daily discussions with. Hopkins is the next one on their list with what we're working on. Their ability to borrow capital for this project is robust. We've got 3 underwriters that are, they haven't selected which one they're going with yet, but they will probably yet this week, if not the beginning of next week. But that is the avenue that is really the kind of the silver bullet that does get this project done. Their lead person on this project, and the NHP is a 30-year-old foundation, and they've got over 18,000 units in 13 different states. The lead gentleman that runs the group, I was in discussions with at 5 o'clock this evening, telling him about this meeting, and he is totally committed to getting this project done. And if I didn't have that confidence in him, as well as ourselves, our own team, I would not be coming here to ask. So that's our request. Again, I appreciate your patience with us. I'll certainly answer any questions if you have specific questions, but again, I thank everybody for your patience and work.
Thank you, Mr. Lux. Would you, for the formality, give your position and your address?
I'm CEO, owner and founder of Alatus. Address is 201 South 11th Street in Minneapolis.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
We won't be asking.
Thank you all.
Is there anyone else who wishes to come speak? Very well. I'm now seeking from the board a motion to enter into closed session for the purpose of discussing the potential expiration of terms to the purchase and sale agreement of 325 Blake Road, Hopkins.
So moved.
And before we, thank you. Before we ask our guests and non-essential staff to leave, before we go into our closed session, but if you wish to re-enter at the end of the closed session, by all means, you may use the lunchroom.
You want us to, want me to say something
I
now?
need yes.
You want to go back?
You want a second?
No, you don't want a second yet.
Well, I do want a second on the motion to do it. I will.
Close.
Go ahead.
Mr. Lutz, thank you very much for your time tonight, and for my family reunion, I guess, is really what we're looking at. So, you know, this is a process that started probably 2009 when we were looking at Cottrell Park and how we're going to transform Cottrell Park into what we thought at what that time was good, was the vision of the Watershed District and the city of Hopkins. And I don't really like to call it a vision, like it's just a bigger picture like we're trying to put together. And so we did Cottrell Park. I mean, I can remember going back, Cottrell Park had houses all over, apartment or complex, an office building right on the water that we had to acquire and buy, that the Watershed District did. How we worked together, and there was a lot of partners in this whole thing. And later on, after the park got done, to work with the school district to build the shelter over there, some of the other stuff that was done with it. Come back to design 325 Blake, what we thought was going to be a major project for the city of Hopkins. And I understand that the construction part's hard for everybody. I understand all that stuff, but I don't know if it's going to get any better either, if that's the case. But it's just a long process that we've gone through from 2009 to when they acquired the cold storage site in 2011, I think it was. And talking to the developer the real estate person at that time was, are we going to work together on this, or is it just going to be a Watershed District thing? And he said, no, we want to get the city involved in this thing because we think it's got a great possibilities of a 14, 15 acre site. That just part of the process of looking at a bigger picture of saying, all right, now we got Cottrell Park, and now we're going to do this other park. We got some apartments, and we got the light rail. All one big thing. It's not just, oh, let's try this, and you have to have a vision or a bigger picture of what you want to see accomplished in your own town. And I spent a lot of time in my town, my whole life. So it's not easy to do, to come back and say, let's get stuff straight and let's work on, come out and do some different things and look out and have a, to fulfill that picture that we want to get done. So, yeah, it's difficult decisions. Hopefully we got 5, 6, 7 great people up here that'll come up with a great conclusion for what we want to do and how we want to accomplish. There's a lot of money involved in this through the whole process of, from the watershed district, all acquiring the properties to get what we accomplished so far. I just don't want to see that go to waste. At the same time, the water is going to be fantastic because what we do upstream affects people downstream. It's just a draw for everything to come back in to say, this has got a bigger picture. Not just, oh, this will work, this will work. And that's really all I got to really say. Hopefully it works out good for everybody in the long run, for the city, for you, for whoever else comes in involved in it. But a lot of hard work, a lot of effort, but it ties right into the whole boardwalk, down to the Methodist Hospital, all that other stuff that we're trying to accomplish through a lot of different things. So it's been a long, hard process from 2009 to 2025. A long time to be sitting there saying, oh, let's do this, let's do this. We just got to keep focused and keep driving and figure out what we're doing. We got to work with our partners. The watershed district's been involved, the county's been involved, Mid Council's been involved, school district was involved in the other part. The Lattice, there's just a lot of different organizations that are involved. The only way you can get a lot of stuff done now is with partnerships. We have to realize that too. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Manager Maxwell. I want to thank you all for attending this evening and sharing your perspectives and updates on the project. We recognize the many challenges the development project has faced and appreciate the efforts of both Hopkins and Lattice. While we are the landowner focused on improving the region's water, of course we support the city's vision for property and have worked hard to see that vision into reality despite the obvious setbacks. As we enter closed session this evening, I can assure you that we will thoughtfully consider all of your perspectives as we consider how the vision for the Greenway can be best advanced. So I want to thank you for being with us here tonight. And I have a motion on the table. Before we proceed on voting on that, I would like to invite guests and non-essential staff to exit the room.
Need a second on the motion, will you?
Well, I'll wait.
Okay.
I jumped the gun maybe on the motion.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's okay.
I don't know harm done.
Danger. Sound okay? Is it a D or an F?
May I have a second to the motion?
Second.
Manager Maxwell? And now, by roll call, we'll vote on going into closed session. Manager Hidmati?
Aye.
Maxwell?
Aye.
Olson?
Aye.
Sando?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Loftus?
Aye.
And White votes aye. We are in closed session. We are in open session. During the closed session, we just considered the proposal that Lattice presented yesterday. After reviewing this with our advisors, that amendment has, we understand that that amendment has significant outstanding issues and open questions. We also discussed in detail the feedback and perspectives of the City of Hopkins. Concluded that given the almost 4 years Lattice has spent trying to deliver this site and the length of time that they have spent out of compliance with the purchase agreement, that the best pathway forward to deliver the district's water resource mission and vision for the larger Minnehaha Creek Greenway is to take the next step in the contractual process and to issue a notice of termination. With that said, is there a motion to approve Resolution 25019?
So move.
Manager Miller moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Manager Sando seconds. Any discussion before we vote?
One quick one. Would it be better off if she put March 26th instead of saying yesterday? The dates are right in a row.
Yes,
Yesterday, March 26th is when
that's
we
right. That's
received
when we received
the
it.
proposal.
yeah.
Yep. Okay, thank you. We haven't voted.
Discussion.
We have to vote. Manager, did we already vote?
Nope.
Manager Loftus,
Aye.
Manager Hitchbody,
Aye.
Manager Maxwell,
Aye.
Manager White votes aye, Manager Olson,
Aye.
Manager Sando,
Aye.
Manager Miller.
Aye.
Thank you. Of course, with the notice of termination being issued, Alatus has a 30-day period of time which they could cure or propose terms that would address MCWD's needs as a land seller. And I understand that staff will be arranging follow-up meetings with Alatus and Hopkins to discuss, and as always, we remain open to any and all conversations with our partners moving forward. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks, guys.
Thank you very much for your good work.
Meeting's adjourned.